Hey everyone, how you doing? Welcome back to JOECMDRAWZ, welcome back to a new video. In this new video, I'm going to be showing off and telling you about my very own Hunter x Hunter character. Let's get into it. Okay guys, I just want to wind things back a bit and take you back through the whole process of creating my character. So, initially, I was just kind of like randomly sketching and didn't really know what to sketch really. And then I saw on Twitter that Togashi, the author of Hunter x Hunter, recently came back and is now starting to work back on Hunter x Hunter, and he's come off a hiatus. And so I got inspired to create my own Hunter x Hunter character. I've never created a character like that before, and it's a different series in how much fun I've had creating my own kind of like One Piece pirates. I think it would be really nice to branch out into different series and create different characters for different series. And so I wanted to start off with Hunter x Hunter. And so I just started sketching, and I was just really looking for any kind of like foothold, trying to figure out what kind of character I wanted to make, whether they were a man, a woman, what kind of like nen abilities would they have, what kind of like faction they were part of, or whether they were an individual. Stuff like that. So I just kind of started randomly sketching. Plus, I really wanted to test out this new kind of like pencil-y, kind of sketchy brush that I'd created in Photoshop. I really liked the way that it felt, and it felt natural, and I really liked using it. So I just wanted to sketch a bunch of different faces, because I really like sketching faces as well. So yeah, as you can see, all these kind of different faces are completely different. I've got this really nice kind of like paper texture on top, which adds a kind of like nice sketchbooky feel. The whole kind of like page anywhere. If you zoom in, you can see all like these like little grains that are actually on the texture. And so I just started sketching, and a lot of these characters are completely different. You got some characters like this who have like no eyebrows, big kind of like cheekbones, tiny ears, big fat necks, and big massive chins. I've got a female character here with kind of like a big ear. Kind of like a cute face. And also this was a good way to practice actually drawing in Togashi style, or at least trying to mimic the Hunter x Hunter style. I know that I did a video breaking down the Hunter x Hunter style. Now I think I could do a lot better in explaining it, but I digress. All these characters are completely different. So I've got like a female character there, I've got another female character here with a different kind of haircut. These are just supposed to be really fast, loose sketches, just getting all my ideas down on the page. Big kind of like eyes here with kind of like triangle eyebrows, a bowl cut. Look at this guy, looks like some sort of like military guy. Kind of like a big thick brow, big wide ears, big thick neck, big forehead, real dum-dum. This guy who's kind of got like long hair, and he's got this long hair that's come down here. He's got kind of like these almost like almond-shaped eyes with a big kind of crooked nose and a big pointy chin. This guy's got like this really big fat head, which I think is pretty cool, really wide, really square. And then there's this guy who kind of looks like maybe some sort of like thug or gangster, or kind of like drug dealer or something, He's got kind of like these lazy eyes, he's got these big kind of like bushy brows, short hair, big lips, kind of big trapezoid kind of like muscles here, trapezius muscles, big thick neck. He's got this big square chin. And I really liked that one as well. I liked all these sketches actually. It was just a lot of fun. But in the end, I kind of really liked this one here. I don't know, he had kind of like this, feel about the sketch that I made that I felt really good about it. And by this point, I was like thinking like, okay, what kind of character do I want to make? And I kind of settled on the idea of, I really like the idea of kind of like a Hisoka type of character, or like an Illumi Isoldic, this kind of cold, calculated murderer that would kill other nen users, kind of like almost in the same vein as the Phantom Troop or the Spiders in the actual manga and anime. So I really like this guy. He's got no eyebrows, that makes him instantly kind of like a lot creepier. He's got kind of like this big sunken in kind of like cheekbones here. A small chin, kind of like this big crooked nose, these wide ears, this kind of like short, kind of like combed in, kind of like haircut, and then I just kind of like was thinking he was like wearing like a white tank top or something. So I really liked that sketch, and I wanted to develop it further. So after that, I kind of went into these two little sketches. These were kind of like modifications to the last sketch, and with this kind of a grey base tone on top of these sketches, you can really see this kind of like really nice paper texture coming through. So it adds like a nice kind of like little effect to the sketches, which I really, really like. It's even more prominent on this one that's just pencils here. And I really liked it, and this is where I'm starting to really get into kind of like the details and trying to figure out facial expressions and stuff like that. So this one was just me kind of messing around with inking. I like inking with Lazy Nezumi, but sometimes I can rely on it way too much, and I don't get the spontaneity, and I don't get the kind of like the way that I ink, because everybody inks differently, don't they? So I wanted to try inking it without any help from Lazy Nezumi. It's really good for a bunch of different stuff, but I wanted to try inking my character, without the help of Lazy Nezumi, and I think it looks pretty good. It's kind of like rough around some of the edges, but I really like the spontaneity, and I really like the kind of swiftness and the quickness, and you can really see the energy in the lines here. And also, I really just liked inking this character a lot. I don't know why, but I think I always like over detail my characters. I add way too many eye wrinkles and way too many kind of like little inflections along the noses and along the brow ridges and hatching and scratching lines, maybe for like facial hair or something. I wanted to get closer to more of like a manga look, and it's not perfect, but I really liked the way that it looked, and I really liked the way that the pencils looked on this one as well. I think it looks really cool, like his big kind of nose here, his kind of almost shocked, kind of wide-eyed expression, and it's got minimal kind of like lines here, and I haven't kind of like overdone it. And I like his hairstyle as well. This is kind of the beginning of what the kind of hairstyle it was. Initially, I used kind of like random face generators to try and get all these different kind of faces. So these were 2 different faces that I got from a random facial generator, and I also wanted to practice drawing face on faces, like front-facing faces, rather than just like side profiles or 3/4 views, which are more of what I prefer. And I know I can't just do that forever, so I wanted to practice drawing face on kind of characters. And I really like these 2. I think these 2 look really, really cool, but they're not perfect, and it's not the final design, but I do like the sketches. So after I did them, I went straight on to do my final character, really, and here he is. He looks pretty creepy, but I really like the way that it turned out. And again, along here you can see all the kind of like paper texture, which looks really, really nice. So after doing those sketches, I moved on to the final character here, and as you can see on this kind of page, I wanted to treat it more like a concept art page, as if he was maybe a character that was going to be added to the 2011 Hunter x Hunter anime. I've actually recently started rewatching that as well, and I've had a lot of fun rewatching it, and you kind of relearn details that you might have forgotten about Nen and stuff like that, especially if you're creating a character that's supposed to fit into the world of whatever show you're trying to make them fit into. So basically, I just kind of like always how I do, I wanted to do a kind of 3/4, a front, a back, and like a side profile view of the character, just so you get a really good idea of like what the character looks like from the front and the side, and a 3/4 angle, and what they look like from the back, and what their hair looks like from the back, and stuff like that. And that's basic common stuff for like concept art for characters. So I'll just kind of run you through it, really. This is his kind of like front face. As you can see, he's a little of an adaptation from the other sketches, and again, like the no eyebrows kind of thing. I think that was a really good creepy detail, so I didn't give him any eyebrows. He's kind of got these basic kind of like ears here, and kind of like a kind of thickish neck. He's got kind of like this short combed hair, which is again another adaptation of what the other hairstyle was, kind of like these strands that come through the middle, and it kind of sweeps to the side, and then comes down to his side, kind of like what do you call them, sideburns. That's what I said. And he's kind of got this like neutral expression. He's kind of almost smiling at you, but it's kind of like a creepy smile. He's got kind of like a scar here, maybe from a fight, and then he's got like this eye in the front of his forehead, which is related to his Nen abilities. Again, here, just kind of like a side profile, trying to figure out what the character looks like. That's what his hair looks like from the side. He's kind of wearing this kind of grey tattered shirt, because I couldn't really think of anything else to kind of like give him to wear. So that's kind of like what he's wearing. But again, you can see what the eye looks like from the side, what his eye looks like from the side, his nose, etc. Here he is from like a kind of almost 3/4 back view, where you get to see his ear, what the back of his hair looks like as it kind of like comes down and it kind of sweeps at the back here. So you get like these little bits that stick out, and you see what kind of like the shirt looks like at the back, and then kind of his chin comes up here. So it's really kind of like basic kind of stuff. And then you got here a front facing kind of like view of him. I was doing some modifications to his kind of like design before I started recording this, so little stuff like that is kind of like outside the lines, but I'll fix that. But the main point is I just wanted to show off his design. Again, I don't know why, but I ended up kind of like giving him like these kind of like red kind of like lines under his eyes. So I don't know whether that's kind of just natural kind of to his character, or whether that's just like some sort of like makeup, or whether it's kind of like some other kind of like random detail that he might have. You know how anime characters are, they have like weird things on their character that don't logically make sense or shouldn't, but I don't know. Yes, he's got like these red kind of like lines under there, and obviously that's how his hair looks like from the front. And I kind of sort of settled on this kind of like pale color palette. His skin is very kind of like pale. What I wanted to do is make him look like death, really. Kind of, he has this pale, kind of like almost corpse-like appearance, and I wanted to give him kind of like this green kind of like color that's supposed to maybe represent kind of like rotting flesh, or kind of, I don't know, green's a very kind of like muted color that like this muted green that would go well with kind of his really pale kind of like almost sickly corpse like skin, that I imagine that if you touched his face or touched his skin, it would be extremely cold, as if he was already a corpse. But yeah, again, he's got that weird creepy kind of like demonic eye on the top of his head there. But yeah, I really like the design I ended up settling on. I think he looks kind of particularly creepy. But why though? But like I said, I wanted him to be more of like a murderer character, so he's like this serial killer that is going around killing other Nen users. And so I ended up wanting to make him like surrounded by death, and all of his abilities and his Nen abilities are related to death and necromancy and that kind of stuff. And so I figured, well, if it's related to necromancy, then he must be a conjurer, right? Considering that necromancers conjure spirits, conjure up the dead, bring them back to life, that kind of stuff. And I thought conjuration on the kind of like Nen diagram, you know, that shows all like the different Nen types, from like enhancement, manipulation, emission, specialization, conjuration, that kind of stuff. And so I thought he might be a conjurer with some talent in manipulation as well. And I also read on the Hunter wiki that conjurers also have the highest capability of turning into specialists as well. So maybe later in his life he could turn into a specialist with even more varied different abilities, kind of like how Kurapika turns into a specialist when he activates Emperor Time, or has his kind of scarlet eyes come alive. And so yeah, so I thought he's a necromancer. But I really liked the way this art turned out. Again, in conjunction with the paper texture, you get this kind of like almost nice grainy effect here, as if I've almost coloured this in with kind of like markers on paper, or like watercolour paper. So I've talked a little bit about the art of this character, and kind of showed you off, like I said, the front view, the kind of 3/4 the side, and the back view of the character, and I've shown you a full kind of body illustration. But who is this guy? Who is this character? Well, to start off, his name is Zazuu Nekromantia. I've written it down there. I did have some other names fitted here. If I just bring this up over here. Initially, I wanted to call him Edward Rowe, as I felt like that was kind of a good kind of like serial killer name. Initially I went on kind of like those random name generators to try and kind of just get a random name to put to this kind of character as I was designing him. And for the longest time, for like a couple of days, I thought Edward Rowe sounded really good. But the more I kind of like traveled down the rabbit hole of necromancy and trying to find out and figure out more about it, about its origins and where it comes from, and kind of like the name origins and stuff like that, like where does the name necromancy even come from, you know? So I was going down a rabbit hole, and what I personally like in names of characters is like when they have like a secret meaning or a hidden meaning, or it's kind of like their name is hidden in some other kind of like detail that you could find out and go out and find yourself, and that's really cool. So his first name, Zazuu, actually comes from these kind of like shamans, or kind of like these Babylonian necromancers. They were called Zazuu or Sha-e-Temu, and the spirits that they raised were called Itemu. And so I took the Zazuu from the Zazuu, and I just kind of pinched that and used that for his first name, and I thought Zazuu sounded really interesting, and I really like characters with like the letter Z for their name, so Zazuu is his first name, and his last name of Nekromantia is also very, very fun to say, but that actually comes from the bit in kind of like the wiki here where it says necromancy was prevalent throughout antiquity, with records of its practice in ancient Egypt, Babylonia, Greece and Rome. And in this guy's Geographica called Strabo, he refers to it as Nekromantia, or diviners by the dead. And so I kind of took Nekromantia and I kind of just tacked that on to his last name. So it ends up being Zazuu Nekromantia, which I think is a pretty cool, pretty fun name to speak about, like to say. So like Zazuu Nekromantia, and it's kind of really on the head as him being a necromancer. So him being a necromancer, what does that mean for his nen abilities? Like I said earlier, he is a conjurer, so he has the ability to conjure different kind of like items and different kind of like things and weapons. You know how it's like explained in the show. As I'm talking about, I'll have some sort of like graphic that will show up the definition of conjuration, as it's like on a wiki, and then like what it is for in the Hunter x Hunter world. But if I just put away Zazu's kind of like full body art and his kind of like facial kind of like art there, I will show you the first of his nen abilities. This is a nen ability called the Nenronomicon. Now it's a play on the Necronomicon, which is from like Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and it's also a very famous spell book, a demonic book that contains all manner of kind of horrible demons and creatures and spirits and stuff like that. And I thought that would fit really, really, really well with his abilities. So this is what the kind of like the book looks like from the front. You know, again, I wanted to approach this more like a concept art project, so I've got a kind of like front, a side, and a 3/4 view of the book, and I've kind of almost kind of illustrated it as if it's surrounded by his nen, his life energy, his aura, and I just kind of went for like a random pattern on the book, but what I wanted to do was make it creepy, very, very creepy. So I kind of like designed this kind of really creepy kind of like eyeball, demon face, mouth that's on the front of the book, the cover of the book, and it's got kind of like this weird kind of like circle, kind of like magic circle pattern on here. As in the wiki, it also talks about necromancers using magic circles to summon spirits and of the dead and such. So I wanted to have that, and then I wanted to have some nice other detail on there. So like it's got like this golden clasps that are on there as well. And it's just got kind of like a what do you call it? Kind of like a bookmark that's in there as well. But I like the idea of this book kind of being alive, kind of like those books in Harry Potter where they're kind of like snapping and snarling and, you know, they're going rah, 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 that kind of stuff. But I imagine this book doesn't really say much other than like feed me or something like that, you know, like something creepy and demonic, and it has like these big gnashing teeth that if you stuck your hand in there you would lose your hand. And it's got this creepy eyeball, kind of like the eye of Sauron, and it kind of darts around and it's looking around when the book is conjured. It's also kind of like similar to Crollo Lucifer's I almost said devil fruit there, his Nen ability. But it's kind of slightly different, whereas his is like a book. This is more of like a big, ancient, kind of like demonic tome that floats around with him, which I think is really cool. If I just move this to the side, I'll kind of have it side by side with kind of like his full body art there as well. So you can see kind of like the relative size as it's compared to him, which I think is really cool. So it'll just be kind of like floating there next to him, and then he can kind of like use it, whatever. But his first ability is called Meat Puppet. So what is this Meat Puppet Nen ability from the Nenronomicon? Well, it has a bunch of different rules and stuff, and why it's called Meat Puppet, as I said, he's a necromancer, so basically it's creating a flesh puppet of a deceased Nen user, and then that could be ready to be used in battle, whether it's like for blocking attacks, or it's like basically like a meat shield, or whatever. But what's really cool about it is that it creates a perfect copy of a deceased, or recently deceased, or dead Nen user that can be then used in battle. So, and they keep their appearance, and they also keep their Nen abilities as well. And he can use manipulation to kind of like forcibly move them, or can put them on autopilot, and they'll fight for him, and they will basically die for him. But it doesn't matter if they get destroyed, because then he can just resummon them again. So having the ability to not only steal, but also like take Nen users as well, and then just use them as well, even after death, is really, really powerful. And you thought Crawler Lucifer, the leader of the Phantom Troop, was really powerful. Well, this is kind of like a similar ability, whereas Crawler steals their Nen abilities with a bunch of different rules that make his Nen ability really strong. This also has a lot of rules that make it really, really strong, but it's actually stealing the person itself. Like I said, I mentioned he is a serial killer, he's a murderer, and so he has like confirmed like 150 kills, and half of them are Nen users. And so all of those names of the Nen users are stored in the Nenronomicon, ready to be used. But what are the rules of Meat Puppet for the Nenronomicon? Well, like I said, Meat Puppet is a sub-ability of the Nenronomicon Nen ability, and it comes with rules, because with Nen abilities, rules and restrictions make them really, really powerful. Like I said, with Crawler's ability, as well as like with Kite's ability, the randomness increases the potency of the ability. So what are the rules? Well, the rules are that he can only use this ability on Nen users. 2, it must be a recently deceased or already dead Nen user that he must take. And then rule 3 is that the book must be fed their DNA, whether that's either hair, skin, or blood, to activate the ability. So what he does, basically, like I said, this is why I designed the actual book, the actual Nenronomicon with a mouth, is that basically what he does is that he can kill his opponent in any way by using basic principles of Nen, whether that's killing them with like pressure, or whether he kills them with his bare hands, or whatever, right? And if they're a Nen user, he kills them, and then what he does is he takes like a trophy from them. So like that could be like an eyeball, a tooth, a piece of hair, a piece of skin, some flesh, whatever it might be, and then he feeds it to the Nenronomicon. That's what categorizes and logs them kind of like in the actual tome itself. And basically he can then call upon them at any point, and so these restrictions make this ability really, really powerful, which I think is really, really cool. And I'm actually pretty happy with kind of the colour scheme as well. I just kind of randomly made this colour scheme up, and I think it looks really cool. The kind of like blood red colour of the book really adds to its creepy kind of like factor, and also, like I said, it looks really cool next to him as well. And you get kind of like a nice kind of concept art piece here. But that's the rules for the Nenronomicon Meat Puppet ability. So what is this other ability? Well, I'll find it here. Ah, yeah, it's called the Wheel of Misfortune. Here it is. And it looks kind of creepy, kind of weird, but it's called the Wheel of Misfortune, and basically it kind of looks like a game show kind of like wheel. And again, it's also got like another creepy kind of like demonic face on here. I've inked this one and left this one as a pencil sketch. This is like a 3/4 kind of like side view, as you can see what it looks like in a 3D space, not just kind of like a flat image. And that's what it looks like floating next to him. Again, this will be surrounded by aura, surrounded by his Nen. And this also has a bunch of different rules that come with it. There are a lot more restrictions for this Nen ability than the other one. But yeah, this is the Wheel of Misfortune. Like I said, he is a murderer. But what are the rules of the Wheel of Misfortune? Well, basically, it conjures a giant game show like a wheel with all sorts of different torture and killing methods written on it. So the rules are that he must feed his blood and his target's blood to the wheel. This creates a Nen curse or a Nen contract binding them together. So basically, once that's done, so he can fight them, and then if he even just takes a small drop of blood, he can feed that to the wheel, and then the wheel, and his opponent are then connected together, causing a Nen curse. So rule 2 is that he must physically spin the wheel. So once he has the blood and the connection and the contract and the curse has been established, he then grabs like the little top bit of the wheel and then he spins the wheel and then goes drrrr, and while the wheel is spinning, the choice is completely random. Like it has, like I said, all a bunch of these different like killing and torture methods on it, and basically it is completely random. And this rule is specifically put in there to strengthen it, because the randomness will make it more powerful. If he just got to choose what way he killed his opponent, then it wouldn't be as strong. But by adding this restriction to the wheel and the ability itself, it makes it far, far more powerful. Rule 4, like I said, it's completely random. And then rule 5 is whatever method that it lands on, he must kill his target in that exact way. Again, this is another Nen restriction that makes his ability really, really powerful by limiting himself to basically only be able to kill his target in that way. That makes his ability far more powerful. Again, like I said, it's another Nen restriction that makes it way more powerful. I mean, just look at why Krolor has a lot of rules for his Nen ability. I can't remember the name of it. Anybody in the comments remind me what Krolor's book is actually called, but he has a bunch of rules attached to it that makes it a really potent Nen ability that makes him very, very powerful. I mean, he has to be powerful to be leader of the spiders, but those are the restrictions. There are also like extra rules that the wheel must have, like the wheel must be visible to the target and out at all times. If he or the wheel is attacked or destroyed, like if the wheel is attacked or destroyed or killed in any way, it will instantly kill the target. They must remain a distance of at least 30 meters between him and the wheel. So if they go further than 30 meters or they can't see the wheel, then it will just instantly kill them, because they're, again, afflicted with this, like this Nen contract, this Nen curse, that will just instantly kill them. And otherwise, again, like I said, otherwise their Nen curse will instantly kill them. So that's basically the Wheel of Misfortune. It's basically just a Nen ability to satisfy his kind of like murderous, torturous intent to basically, because that's what he gets out of it. That's the kind of fun that he has. Like I said, he is a serial killer, he is a murderer, and then he kills Nen users, steals their bodies, steals their techniques, and then can use them for whatever he wants, so he can humiliate them further in death. And then the Wheel of Torture is basically, or the Wheel of Misfortune, shall I say, is basically a fun way of him, like a game, like I said, that's why it looks like a game show wheel. A fun kind of almost game for him to play with, oh, what kind of killing or torture method will it be this time? And so he spins the wheel, and then whatever method it lands on. So he must, I don't know, it lands on, he must kill his opponent with strangulation. And so he must find a way to kill his opponent with strangulation, otherwise the wheel will not go away, and he has to kill them in that way. Like I said, the restrictions make it quite powerful. So that's his second Nen ability. And his final Nen ability actually has to do with the eye on his forehead. If I just bring back his these, and I'll just move this over. As you can see, like I said, he has an eyeball in front of his head, and that's what he had from the very beginning. This is the first Nen ability he actually created, and it's called Eye of the Immortal. And basically, the Eye of the Immortal is the oldest and most powerful Nen ability that he has. It's basically a conjured demonic eye that steals and stores up some of his Nen, or his life energy, every single day. creating like this massive pool of Nen in his forehead, like in this actual like demonic creepy eye. And basically, if the rules are that if he dies for any reason, so say if he's fighting a really powerful opponent and they overpower him and they kill him, basically this post-mortem Nen ability will happen. The Eye of the Immortal will activate. The eye on his forehead will close, and then his post-mortem Nen it will activate, having him be reborn somewhere else in the world with all of his memories and his Nen abilities intact. It's like a failsafe for him so that he can continue killing and torturing and stealing Nen users and putting them in his Nenronomicon and using them for his own nefarious purposes. So that's basically that's what the eye on his forehead is really for. That's his first and most powerful Nen ability, and it's also a post-mortem Nen ability, meaning that it can only be activated after he has died. That is the one condition, and so that makes it quite powerful. That basically allows him to be allows him to basically have himself be reborn in the world, which I think is a really interesting and really powerful ability. So guys, we're coming to the end of the video here, but I just wanted to mention one last thing, that this character does have some major goals in his life. His major goals are to basically kill and own at least one or more multiple members of either the Zoldyck or the Phantom Troop. He particularly wants the Phantom Troop because it's kind of like out murdering the murderers almost. They're extremely famous and they're extremely powerful, and he wants to prove he's better than they are. So he definitely wants to kill and own at least a few, if not all, of the members of the Phantom Troop, and at least a few members of the Zoldyck family. Those are like his two major goals of basically being able to kill and steal the bodies of the Phantom Troop and at least one or more members of the Zoldyck family, just to make him just insanely powerful. I mean, having the ability to be able to not only conjure perfect copies and use manipulation Nen abilities to manipulate not only like a member of the Zoldyck but also the Phantom Troop as well. Like he could have all of the members of the Phantom Troop being manipulated by him at the same time, or he could just have like, I don't know, if he managed to kill Silver Zoldyck and then have like Uvogin there with him as well, he could just like create this cool pincer attack to like kill his opponent, kill them and then steal them and then use them as well. So it's kind of like almost an ever expanding Nen ability that he can just keep building upon and have so many Nen users that he can just use for any kind of given situation, and then manipulate them to use for their bodies to use like their Nen abilities. So he's not using their abilities, he's just manipulating the corpses to use the abilities. So I think it's like I said, it's an ever-expanding ability, which makes it really powerful. But yeah, that's like his two major goals, or like his major goal in the world. But we are coming to the end of the video. So if you did like this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share my work around. Let me know what your Nen ability would be. What do you think of Hunter x Hunter? Are you excited for it coming back, like in the manga? But yeah, like I said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Hey there, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share my work around. I'll see you next time.